What happened on Friday for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix? Max Verstappen dominating Friday today, and despite him having a tummy ache, a stomach bug, and you're thinking maybe championship back on. As soon as he wheels himself out in free practice 1, he was a bit late to it, maybe 15-20 minutes, goes out, just smashes everyone in both FP1 and FP2. It's great. It's fantastic viewing.
Yeah, that car looks absolutely on rails. They were talking about it in FP2, actually, showing the clips, and they are just running that car so low, it's sparking everywhere, and it just looks so planted compared to everyone else.
Everyone else bar maybe one man, 41-year-old Jesus himself, Fernando Alonso.
Can you believe we're here? This is genuinely, we're talking about him as the only threat to Red Bull.
I'm excited to see what Fernando Alonso can do again this weekend. He was only a couple of tenths off Verstappen, I think, at the end of free practice 2, finishing P2. So it clearly seems like they have both race pace and quali pace. Their race pace was good in Bahrain, and it's good to see from a fan perspective, from a neutral perspective, from Fernando Alonso fan perspective, that it wasn't just a one-off. In Saudi, they look quick again.
The reality is, it looks like that Fernando is the threat unless Ferrari, which we hope, are just turning their engines down so they don't explode by Saturday.
Yeah, let's talk about Ferrari then, shall we? They finished 9th and 10th in free practice 2. If you've been tuning into our Matt P1 Tommy Twitch watch-alongs, which we did just out of love for all of you guys this weekend, you would have seen me popping off. I was not happy at all because realistically they don't look very quick, and I was convinced, you were convinced, Tommy, that they would take a step forward in Saudi, but doesn't seem that way. Leclerc obviously running an engine penalty, 10-place penalty at least. Depends if they decide to take more after practice, because realistically, that Ferrari doesn't look bulletproof even after the changes. Leclerc's been having some problems, more issues with his engine during FP2, getting away, it seemed like, out of the pits as well, that he was having some kind of clutch issues, and it's like, give me a break. But no, it's not happening.
It's pain. Yeah, they were 9th and 10th in FP2. Hopefully that's just a sign that they were saving the engine, worried about reliability. I can't believe we're saying we hope they're just worrying about reliability. That's how bad it is at Ferrari, that we're kind of hoping it's just not as painful as you think.
They took precautionary changes to both Leclerc and Sainz's car in terms of the engines. They swapped it out, and
it's the second race.
It's the second race.
What? Like, how?
They didn't even win in Bahrain. They weren't challenging. No. It's not like they turned it up too much and they were challenging. They weren't. They would have been beaten by Alonso anyway. Oh goodness me! Junior Alpha Wolf says, when Ferrari pain is going to end? Never. 2000 and never. Probably. It's just a continuation of the pain that we saw last year and what we've seen potentially for the last 16 years, to be honest with you. So, look, it's fine. Let's move on before I start crying. One of the big changes, actually, worth mentioning, is that they have stopped DRS chicken, as far as we're aware. They have moved the DRS detection zone until after the final corner. So none of this slamming on the brakes, you go first kind of racing, which I don't think pleased a lot of people. On one side, I think, yes, fair enough. I can understand why they're doing it. Drivers slamming on the brakes to try and get the other driver to go ahead has caused an incident in the past. On the flip side, realistically, it wasn't like it caused anything too crazy, and also gave us some serious entertainment. So I can see both sides, but they have changed it, and we're not going to see any more of that anymore.
That's a shame. It was always fun, and particularly seeing someone like Fernando Alonso at the front with the prospect of DRS chicken. The guy is the king of beep housery and mind games and all that kind of stuff, so it would have been fun to see Fernando doing something like that.
The problem is, it's at such high speed that it can cause, and we are just waiting realistically for that big moment to happen. We saw Sergio Perez just doodling, just chilling. Carlos Sainz, by the way, felt like he was involved in almost every single one of them. Most of the time he was the slow car, but the one with Perez, it just didn't seem like Checo was particularly concentrating and moved slightly to the racing line, and Carlos came flying through. and Perez had to make a big correction to not come together. So it's just one of those. I think Q1 tomorrow is going to be pretty sketchy, to say the least. Let's move on now to a question from Youngders. On a scale of 1 to 10, how badly does Piastri regret choosing McLaren over Alpine? Well, it's not worked out, at least from the performance level of that McLaren. Again, they look off the pace. It was so close in FP2, to be fair, because there wasn't much pace differential between Piastri and Norris at the end of FP2. You go, it was a couple of tenths, I think, in the end, wasn't it? And then you looked at the positions and it was 12th to 19th or something. But back to Piastri, I think there might be a slight element, but at this stage, he can't be regretting it. It's only round 2. McLaren picked it up by Imola last year. I see that they will take steps forward again this year, but it's not looking great at the moment.
It's not, down in 19th, but like you say, it's not a huge gap off to the actual runners. I mean, Alpine, I think this is just the nature of the circuit for Alpine. They are very quick in a straight line, and they're looking very handy. Could be a good race for those guys, but you've got to think that when the season progresses, I can't see Alpine being miles ahead of McLaren. However, like you say, it is just one of those things where he's made such a huge dramatic move for a sideways step, and sideways a little bit back, if anything, and a big leap back at the moment. But we'll see if McLaren can turn it around. Not hopeful.
Yeah, I'm not convinced at the moment. Because, as you say, Alpine looking really good, 4th and 6th in free practice too, and kind of going along the lines of what you believed would be happening, with your biggest good surprise being Ocon, and he's up there in P4 at the moment. So a point is well and truly on its way, unless I decide to jinx him again. So I won't say anything. Let's talk about another driver that's been off the pace, Lewis Hamilton. In the Mercedes, down in 11th in free practice too. I know, again, it's free practice, can't take too much from it, but not exactly the form or the pace that we were expecting to see in comparison to his teammate, half a second down the road at the end of free practice 2, up in 5th. But there's been a lot of talk about his future. Now, I'm not going to say that anything that's really been suggested is anything other than a pipe dream, far-fetched even.
Surprising thing was Toto Wolff actually was asked about this, and I thought his answer was a little bit defeatist, where he didn't say, oh, well, why would Hamilton leave Mercedes? We're the best team on the grid and we'll get back to where we were. He said, well, actually, in 2 years' time, we might not have a championship winning car for him, and then we'd understand why he wanted to leave. And I was kind of like, oh, that's a bit... it's not exactly fighting talk that we're used to from Mercedes.
Yeah, it's not the confidence that you'd want to hear if you're a Mercedes fan. No. If they were confident that they're going to be figuring this out pretty soon and they're going to be back at the front of the grid, then he would have said something a little bit more along those lines, I think. But it just didn't happen. Anyway, there you go. That is it. Thank you so much for watching on YouTube or listening in your ears over on our podcast platforms. Tommy, what are your final thoughts?
Okay, one final thought is I saw Crofty say that Fernando Alonso is in Garage 33 this weekend, and he's looking for his 33rd victory, so it's written in the stars that Fernando Alonso is going to get that win.
Yeah, that's a good final thought. Happen. Well done. Enjoyed that. My final thought is our live show tickets are live now, 6th of April. If you want to come and see myself and Tommy live on the 6th of April in London, Leicester Square Theatre, there'll be a link everywhere. It's actually nearly sold out, which is insane. I looked at the rows and I was like, why are there so many unavailable? Why are people paying to see us? But this is it, right? I cannot wait if you do come along. If not, do not worry, because I know a lot of you aren't even in the UK. How dare you not book a flight? There you go. Thank you very much, everybody, and we'll see you very soon. Bye!
Bye!